My camera's over here now, not up there. It's all there. Hello. If you haven't joined me before, I am Cassie Mothwin. I am a game designer, and on my quest to become a better game designer and a better player and a better GM when it comes to tabletop RPGs, I love reading and exploring a lot of them, and one of my favorite ways to do that is by talking about them on stream. And today we are so lucky because the designer is in chat. Not sure how long Moss will be here, but we're excited to have Moss, and we're going to be talking about Hellwhalers today. As you can see, it is quite massive. I've just got to scoot back. So we'll actually be flipping through the digital copy just so I can make sure and get it all on stream in its beautiful glory. But this is what a physical copy looks like. I don't have any Apothecaria, which is a great solo tabletop RPG, so you can see the size and then the thickness. There you go. When did I read it? December. I picked it up at PAX last year. I read it in December, so it's been several months, so I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember liking it a lot. So we're gonna basically be reading through it again together. I've never played it, so I won't have any insight into how it plays. I will just kind of imagine how it plays, you know. I think that's a valid way of exploring a game. So that's what we'll be doing. Anyway, let's get into it. Today we're looking at Hellwhalers. Here's what it looks like. I'm actually going to read the back of the book. I don't want to scroll all the way through it. Hey, Danny, because it's all the way at the bottom of the PDF, but I'll read the back for you, and then we'll start scrolling through it. So, you've lived a sinner's life. Now you've died a sinner's death. Cruel fate has cast you down to the wretched belly of the earth. As your soul is mired with the burdens of your lived life, you begin to sink deeper, drowning. But before you give up, you're fished from the briny depths of hell's oceans. A figure stands above you and reaches down a knotted hand as you cough and sputter the salt water from your lungs. The figure calls himself your captain and explains the deal. Here upon the seas of hell, I always struggle with the word hell. By the way, thank you so much for 27 months, Danny. I struggle with the word hell because I was born and raised in Texas for a good portion of my life, so I have a southern accent, and the word hell and the word hill I always struggle to keep. Oh, and thank you, Mirlock. Oh my gosh, everybody's so generous. Thank you. I'm gonna just start over and, oh my gosh, hey, Critical Chit. Hey everybody, oh my gosh, thanks for the hype train. Very cool. What a great welcome back. I'm gonna start over though. I'm so distracted now. A figure stands above you and reaches down a knotted hand. As you cough and sputter the salt water from your lungs, the figure calls himself your captain and explains the deal. Here, upon the seas of hell, a Hellwhale is said to be so unholy that slaying such a beast can earn you a place back in God's grace. And the captain has something that'll help find one, but he needs a crew. That's you. So, a tabletop RPG of nautical and Christian religious horror, Hellwhalers is suitable for 2 to 5 whalers and 1 guide. It requires 3 6-sided dice, a large number of tokens, character sheets, and a sicko board. Oh, I'll show you the sicko board in a minute. The board and character sheet are included with this book and available for download. And then we've got some quotes from folks. Here's the sicko board. It is incredible. It looks so good. Oh, thank you, Critical Chit. Can I make this happen? I don't think. There we go. This is incredible. Oh yeah, it's big too. But yeah, so if you buy the physical edition, you do get a digital edition, which has it as a download. It comes with a digital PNG that you can use in like Roll20 or wherever. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. So let's look at the PDF. Oh yeah, also Bogus Cheesecake was involved. If you don't know, Bogus Cheesecake is the best, so just throwing that out there as well. So right off the bat, we don't have a clickable table of contents or bookmarks. So just a heads up if that's a feature that's important to you. But I do think that table of contents is really well laid out. I love how the pieces are indented. I would have liked to have seen some things bolded that like are important for referring back to and play frequently, just so it's easier to glance, but it's only one page too, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, so it's about 50 pages total. Yeah, it's under 60 pages. Okay, so the bargain, well, we just read this. This is also on the back of the book. So you're a cursed whaler sent to hell for your misdeeds. Ye now troll the Stygian sea, hunting your quarry, the dreaded Hellwhale. The captain says that if ye can feast upon the whale's putrid flesh, ye might break the curse and find a more peaceful afterlife. The terrible leviathan worms through the lightless depths of the vast and frightful ocean, forever drawn to the echoes of its own beating heart. It may be the only way to find the infernal sea beast, break the curse, and end your immortal suffering. Hey, Randall, how are you? So in Hellwhalers, we already know that players take the role of cursed whalers. They hunt for a monstrous whale through hell for salvation, for their eternal souls. If you're playing with just 2 players and a guide, give each player an extra scene or move during, I don't know why I wanted to say scone, or move during each encounter's round. Side note, if you didn't know, I had eye surgery and my eyes are healing, so things are still blurry for me. So I might stumble over words a little bit. I always do, but even more so because I can't, it's still blurry in this eye. But I've had a full recovery, but your vision is still blurry for like 3 months after the surgery. It is what it is. Okay, I'm not disappointed. No, welcome in. I'm glad you could make it. I know it's a Friday and I know it's a work day, so I appreciate it. Who doesn't want an extra scone, especially in hell? So setting up components, you need 2 to 5 players and someone as a GM, basically 3 6-sided die, the devil's board, or any sicko board. Sick bow. I keep calling it a sicko. We're all sickos here. A sick bow board. Is that an official board? Is that an official game? I don't know. Character sheets, something to use as tokens like stones or coins, and a way to take notes like paper and pencils. Player principles. As you play, try to let your character embody each. Oh, it's a real gambling game. Okay, thanks, Aaron. My friends call it sick boy. Sick bow is okay. See, I don't even know. I've just been playing New Vegas, and I only play blackjack. I'm gonna adjust some volume things real quick. Give me just a second. Okay, making sure. Okay. All right. Player principles. As you play, try to let your character embody each of these. Boldness in the face of danger by engaging foes bravely and with urgency. Loyalty to ship and captain by protecting the vessel from danger and performing your shiply duties. Drive to save your soul by attempting to play the premise of the game and hunting whale. Cooperation with your fellow whalers by working alongside one another and not undermining the other player's moments. Yeah, I think those are great. And then we have some guide principles. We have some safety. I actually really like this cat system. I hadn't really come across it before until I was reading through this. I still don't love where I am. There we go. I think I'm a little bit happier. Yeah. So CAT stand for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. It's a tool for understanding a game better and working with the intended experience in mind. So I'll let you read through all of that if you want to. I just think it's a really cool system. I'd love to know who came up with this. I'm not sure. Is that original to you, Moss, or is this one? It's really cool. I like it. I think it's a great way of having a discussion. Not sure where it came from. Okay, cool. And then we have some lines and veils, traffic lights. So if you're familiar with any kind of safety and tabletop RPGs, you'll be familiar with those. Even if you're not, check those out. It's great that they're there for reference. I'm a fan of all of them. Okay, example flow of play. We have Kim, who is playing Jezebel the Pious, Eric playing Peter the Hot-Tempered, Anthony playing Isaiah the Weary, and Nolan is the guide and the captain. Nolan says, "You awake as often to the infernal screaming of countless demons and the vast inky blackness filling the skies. How do your whalers start their day?" Eric says, "Peter is yelling at Isaiah to wake up. Once he realizes you haven't made breakfast, you're the cook after all. Anthony. Oh, should I take a soul to shirk my responsibility? I think I will. Isaiah isn't going to answer the door. Nolan hands Anthony a token. So in this playthrough so far, Anthony's character, who is Isaiah, is getting a token for shirking his responsibility. Eric says, Peter is going to grumble off and go check the rigging. Nolan, who is the captain again, says, in the darkness, there's a thump against the bow of the ship. It sounded like your ship hit something, but softly. Kim says, I want to check the front of the ship. The GM says, it looks like you bumped into a crate floating in the water. Kim says, Jezebel's going to ask Peter for help. Eric says, Peter helps. Do I need to spend a soul? Nolan, the GM, says, no, this is a straightforward task without much interest to gain from failing it. Let's just say you haul it up. Anthony says, Isaiah's up now and is going to wander over to the crate as well. Eric, Peter's going to ruin morale with his words. He's going to start yelling at Isaiah to go make breakfast. And at this point, the GM, Nolan, tosses Eric another token. Kim says, I want to know what's in the crate. The GM says, you pry it open. Inside is some cured meat, enough for several days worth of rations. However, ... And then Anthony says, uh-oh. And the GM finishes, as you look at it hungrily, the door to the captain's cabin flies open. The captain, illuminated by the lamp lights, hobbles toward the crate. He looks pissed. Oh, we're still going. Kim says, crap, Jezebel is going to make a sign of the cross and address the captain. Hey, Captain, we got some food from this crate we pulled up. And then the party continues their roleplay, collecting a few tokens until later when Nolan, again the GM, describes the next event. And Nolan says, amidst the den of the mnemonic screeching, you hear a different sound for a moment, faint but unmistakable. It's a seagull's cry. Kim says, seems strange. I climb up to the crow's nest and try to shine our spotlight. The GM says, Kim, Jezebel gets to the top and hears more of them, a lot more. Eric says, oh no. The GM says, the gulls swooped down and began pecking and tearing at Jezebel's flesh. The GM marks the letter C on the word claimed. Kim says, I'm out of souls, so I guess I'll just gain one by asking why God has forsaken us, except I'm probably screaming it. The GM laughs and tosses Kim a token. Anthony says, I'm gonna spend a soul to lead by example and draw my cutlass. And the GM marks one soul spent on the knot. Eric says, I'm gonna spend a soul to fight with everything I've got. I'm gonna follow Isaiah's lead and swing a cutlass at them. And the GM marks a second soul spent on the knot. Nolan said, the GM says, you both drive off quite a few of the gulls, but they still dive bombing the deck at you all. Nolan marks an L, the letter L on the word claimed. Kim says, I'm gonna spend my soul to strike with righteous fervor. And the GM marks a third soul in the knot. Eric says, I think I'm gonna have Peter strike the lightning, spending one more soul. And then we have the GM marking the fourth soul in the knot, which clears it. The GM rolls a d6, getting a 5. All right, Eric, you can distribute 3 souls. The seagull flock is driven off by your efforts. The deck is just covered in droppings and dead seagull. And Eric says, Captain's not gonna like that. Better clean up. So that's an example of play that we have so far. We saw several things in action. We saw there being knots that were being marked and then cleared, and then we saw the word claimed with letters being cut off. So I assume and then people are also gaining tokens and gaining souls and spending them. So I assume as we get through the text, we're gonna see how those things come to fruition. I'm gonna take a drink. What I like about that example is I feel like it's very quick, it's very short, but it still does a good job of displaying what we're about to encounter in the text and how it works in play, in both what seems like combat or an encounter situation and in roleplay. Okay. Hell, the pathway to paradise begins in hell, a quote from Dante. So, the Stygian Sea, a nearly infinitely vast underworld of body-salted water. The water is clammy, oily, and dark. Any sailor cast overboard won't last long. The ship you crew is one of the rare few upon the surface, but not the only one. It is eternally night upon the Devil's Ocean. Most time your lamplights and candles yawn weakly outward into the vast inky blackness of the limitless night. At others, there are chaotically binding lights or streaks of flame rolling through the sky. The eternal din of countless winged demons shriek overhead at any hour. Time passes strangely here, but you'll find your old grandfather clock, woozy from the ship's nauseating pitch, keeps the next midnight ever on your mind. And then we have some locales. So we have Sylftrix's Cove. That's a complex word there with an I after the C. Sylftrix. I think it's Sylftrix Cove. That's my guess. I agree, Aaron. I think they did a great job of working the public domain art into the game and giving it a great theme. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the credits text, which is the second to last page. So here are all the folks involved. So game design was was Moss Powers and Bogus Cheesecake. Layout is by Kay Mahoney. Editing by Nolan Heath and Lillian Jolly. And then we have art by Kay Mahoney, Charles Torak, Albert Bale Johnson, and Lippish Susano. And then my book was signed. It's really cool. Yeah, it's cool that it matches. Moss did a great job. That's so funny. So cool. And then we also have a lot of this public domain art. So yeah, I think they did a great job with everything that's here. Okay, back up we go. So I'm not going to go through all the locales, but I think there's a great array, obviously. Looks like there's 11 locations, so let's take a look at a few of them. So we have the home of the devil, made of sculpted bone and flesh. Will trade significant sums of souls for a living person. We have a floating collection of ships bolted together that serves the home as a god-worshipping repentant cult. Prison of Watchers, a gigantic onyx safe just below the water surface. A tiny sandy islet, not but 40 paces across each way. A human skull sits upon the center with a bullet hole across the temples. A rusted empty pistol lies half buried beside it. This is cool. Yeah, so I think these might be a little bit of spoilers, so if you're a player, I wouldn't necessarily look at these because I think this is more reference for the GM probably to kind of build out exploration. Character creation. So this game does come with playbooks. Playbooks outline the abilities and characteristics of your sailor. Each playbook has a lure, which I love the wordplay there. Each playbook has a lure which awards players a soul when the interaction takes place. Playbooks also include moves which outline actions a character can use throughout the journey. While these aren't the only things that your characters can do, they'll inform your character's core behavior and inform the guide on how to distribute tokens for your actions. Once a playbook is selected, answer the following questions. What's the name of your whaler? And how do we refer to ye? What do you look like? What are ye shiply duties? And how did ye shuffle off that mortal coil? I think one thing I would like here, I don't know why it does that. I don't know much about shiply duties, if I'm completely honest with you. I would have loved, which maybe, let's look at the table of contents. I would have loved some hints at that, which that's obviously something I could do my own research on. But I also wouldn't have minded like some, and I think there are some tips in here, like, I love the inventories and the moves. I think those are really well done, but I would have loved some, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I would have loved some ideas on what duties could be. And how did you shuffle off the mortal coil, cause of death? So I think the rest of these are great. I love these. Just as someone who doesn't know a lot about boats and likes to just jump right into games, I would have loved some help there. You're in hell and you deserve it. The people you hurt, the crimes you committed, each sin weighs on you like an invisible chain, dragging you to the bottom of this infernal cesspool where you belong. That's what you tell yourself anyway. They say good deeds don't matter in hell, that repentance is a living man's gift, yet what other recourse exists within your tortured mind? You accept the Lord's punishment, strive for forgiveness, and perhaps one dawn your guilt will be absolved. So this is the guilty playbook. We won't look at all the playbooks, but we'll look at a couple of them. Let's look at the guilty one for sure, but looking at the table of contents, are there any others you want to look at? We have the guilty, the weary, the greedy, the hot-tempered, the pious, and the haunted. So we'll for sure look at the guilty. Are there any others, for those of you in chat, that you really, really want to take a look at and inspect? Yeah, I was thinking haunted too. Let's do one more. So we'll do the guilty, the haunted, and nobody else speaks up, I'll just choose whatever I want. Pious. Okay, so we'll do the guilty, the pious, and the haunted. So the guilty, your lore is when someone affirms that something isn't your fault, they gain a soul. So I love this. So basically, if you're playing the game and say that an important valuable object rolls off the ship and your character is blaming themselves, you're like, oh, I should have put that somewhere safer. I should have taken better care, blah, blah, blah. And another player comes up and says, listen, we were all responsible for this object. You're not the only one to blame. It's not your fault this happened. That player would gain a soul. So I just think that's really cool that it encourages those kinds of interactions. I always love how lures work to inspire RP. Play to find out. Are you worth being saved? Will what you've done outweigh what you still can do? And can you forgive yourself? Pick one for your inventory. A callous, Silas woven from barbed wire. I probably didn't say that right. A journal filled with confessions, a knife speckled with rusted blood, a pure gold necklace, an ornate key, the photograph of a family member, a length of rope, a metal flask of distilled spirits, a blindfold from the world of the living. So these are all great. I think they all really, whichever one you would pick, really would help inform your character. I think they're so cool. Like even an ornate key, what does the key go to? What does the box look like? A length of rope. Why do you have a length of rope? Is it because that's what you use to end your life? Is that what you use to bind your victims? I think there's a lot here worth exploring. That's fine. Demon 4x4 says, that does sound interesting. My group is currently in yell at each other for past mistakes mode. Thermon up. Thanks so much for the follow. I do appreciate it. Feel free to introduce yourself and say hello. Strong moves. So in order to perform these moves, you already have to have a soul and you have to give it up in order to perform this. So indulge in something without shame, let go of regret, seize a moment and deal with the consequences later. Accept your mistakes, ask yourself what you need. I love that. So I love that you have to pay. It's just great. See, I love how playbooks inspire RP. Regular moves, so these don't cost anything. Put others before yourself. Put yourself before others, lean on someone for comfort, be afraid of making another mistake, ask, do I deserve this? And then weak moves, so these will give you a soul that you can then later spend on the strong moves later. Try to fix something that isn't yours to fix. Take the blame. Judge your worth by your value to others. Punish yourself. Ask, how can I make it up to them? Yeah. So what I love is, so the weak, there's some synergy here too. So for example, with weak moves, if you're taking, so that object that I said rolled off, let's say like it's food, it's a bundle of food. And it rolls off and your character is taking the blame. You're like, this is my fault. I messed up. I should have done better. You know, I know you all rely on me. And then, so you will get a soul for taking the blame. But then if someone else comes up and says, this isn't your fault, I think you know, you could be stronger. Or we're all in this together. We should all like help each other and whatnot. It's just so cool. I just love it. It's great stuff. Okay, so now we're looking at the pious. Here we go. Prayer strengthens the soul. It guards against suffering and delivers peace, true in life and true in death. The balm of the soul brings comfort even in the torments of eternal damnation. God is great and God is just. He provides the means of salvation to his flock, and fervent hope in his holy name will prevail against the trials of hell. He sees our struggle and hears our prayers. All is part of his holy plan. So, the lure here, when someone reaffirms your moral compass, they gain a soul. I love that. Play to find out what strength lies in morality. What strength lies in morality? Can one be saved through their belief? How to accept being human. Aaron says, I love the pious. They're so optimistic. They are, aren't they? How did they end up in hell? I would love... Oh, that's interesting. This would be a really fun character to play in hell. Inventory. A breviary. I don't know what that is. A rosemary made of hell pearl. A small bag of incense and fire starter. A shirt of sackcloth. A feather presumed to be from an angel. Ooh, I love the implication there. A crucifix of scrimshawed bone. A votive candle burned to the nub. A filled wineskin, a minuscule glass vial of holy water. Also, I love the art at the bottom. I think it's great that they're just holding their head. Strong moves, -1 soul. Strike with righteous fervor. Avoid wicked temptation. Divine and inspired path. Stand against evil. Ask, what is right? Regular moves. Pray for guidance. Take the high road. Forgive a transgression. Offer a blessing of comfort. Ask, how can we know his plan? Hello, A Owls. Thanks so much for following. Feel free to introduce yourself, say hello. We are going through Hellwhalers right now, which is a tabletop RPG. Miralax says, a breviary is a prayer book for regular prayers at specified hours. Thank you so much. Weak moves, +1 soul. Sin as all men do. I love that. It's so tasty. Turn away from the light. Take the easy way out. Castigate yourself or others for mortal failings. Ask, why has he forsaken us? I think this is such a great... Oh, we've got a D20. This is just such a great playbook. It's poetic. It's so well written. The moves are open but also tight. It's really well done. Like, I don't know how you could look at this and not go, oh, I don't know how I would use that in a game. There's so much inspiration on this sheet, and there's not a lot of text. It's great. I love it. Okay, the Haunted. The human mind has the uncanny ability to remember certain events in precise detail. Yet for a soul in hell, memory is nothing more than another instrument of the grand torturer. Like a sponge, you've absorbed horror after horror, a shallow wreck in the face of evil and malice. You've clawed your eyes out, thrown yourself into the ocean, opened your skull against the hard rocks, all to make it stop. You cannot bear to see more. You will long, broken and gone, like any sane man. You would do anything to escape, and when an offer came along to provide you the means of doing so, what choice did you really have? Thank you so much, Petra, for the magical moths. Oh. Womp womp womp. It's sad for the haunted. They have no agency. Play to find out how to overcome the past. Will your demons haunt you forever? Can you hold it together? Your lure. I skipped over that. When someone comforts or honors your pain, they gain a soul. Yes, I think it's not belonging outside belonging. I think it borrows some things from belonging outside belonging. Yeah, more or less, because it does require a GM, where I think most belonging outside belonging games don't require a GM. So yeah. When someone comforts or honors your pain, they gain a soul. I love that too. Inventory. A damaged photograph, a collection of prayer beads and chains, a tome of inhuman languages and purpose, a cloth bearing the portent of a divine image, a lantern that never seems to go out, an almost empty medicine bottle, earplugs made of beeswax in a woolen eye mask, a container of rock salt, scrolls bearing ill prophecy and strange words. Good stuff. Also, I, again, love the art here on the bottom. Strong moves. Break the cycle. Move forward without the ghosts of the past. Make non-linear progress. Take your time to process. Ask, what do we need to carry on? Regular moves. Remember the past, run from something, quash your feelings, hold on, ask yourself what you've learned. Weak moves. Try to forgive. Become paralyzed with fear. Channel your hurt to someone who doesn't deserve it. Become trapped in a cycle. Ask, why me? Another banger of a playbook. I love it. I think I like the inventory of the pious one a little bit more, but I love how diverse the inventory is on this one. Good stuff. I love move forward without the ghosts of the past as a strong move. I think that's really cool. I just can see how that would come out in RP so easily. I've been running a gothic horror campaign for 3 years now, so I'm looking at this and I'm like, this would be something like this. It works so much better for gothic horror, which what is religious horror if not a little bit of gothic horror too? So all good stuff. Okay. So now we're getting more into the mechanics of it. So we've got souls and we've got knots. Souls are a tradable commodity in Hell. They're a bargaining chip to get things done. Each soul was once a mortal being, but after enough decay in this terrible place, they grind down to their barest essential form. Souls are one of the main mechanics and currencies of the game. Souls are used to empower your whaler to take the spotlight and seize a moment. They're also used to pulse the Hellwhale's heart. Anytime your character shines in a scene or uses a strong move, spend a soul. Anytime your character does something vulnerable or authentic to their flaws, potentially worsening a problem, or uses a weak move, you gain a soul. Souls can also be gambled on the Devil's Board at midnight. More in the gambling and the Devil's Board section. Knots represent threats or obstacles. So I equate knots. I remember thinking they reminded me of, I can't remember what they're called in D&D. Anyway, back to knots. Knots represent threats or obstacles. A knot has two primarily defining features: its complexity or how many souls are required. Yes! Skill challenge. Well, not really. A skill challenge is just a general... Is that what it is? When there's multiple in a row and you have, like, say there's 5 skill checks and you have to pass at least 3 of them? Okay. A knot has two primary defining features: its complexity, or how many souls are required to resolve it, a lot like a clock, and its consequence, or what happens if that goes unresolved. These are marked in the format complexity, consequence, such as 4, mark 1 letter of seaworthiness. Consequences are usually recurring, happening every round until the knot is resolved. Every round, when a knot is in play, give each Weller an opportunity to make a single meaningful move or action. Souls spent on actions that help solve the knot contribute to its resolution. Some knots will have consequences immediately, and some will allow whalers to act first. When a knot becomes resolved, return 1d3 souls to the whaler who spent either the most souls or the final soul. That player may distribute them as they see fit. Knots also have descriptors such as hellish, social, supernatural, or weather. These are tags that indicate whether they are affected by some of the boons, effects, and features of Hell. They have no other intrinsic rules attached to them. So the ship. Some knots may have consequences that inflict crew harm. To indicate crew harm, mark a letter on the whaler's collective claimed table. So we were talking about, when we looked at the playthrough example, we were looking at the letters. At 0 letters remaining, the crew member that is affected by the final marking has perished. The game is over for that player. Subsequent markings of letters, when none remain, will also be fatal. Ooh. As knots are introduced, some may have consequences that affect your ship's seaworthiness. To damage your seaworthiness, mark a letter on the collective wrecked table. At 0 letters remaining, the ship is sunk and the game is over. Turn to the Epilogues section. And then we have food and supplies. We have repair supplies, weapons, falling overboard, ship encounters. Let's see how to create a falling overboard knot. Sometimes a whaler or side character will fall overboard. This creates a new knot. Physical knot X. The whaler is lost. X should be the total number of acting player characters in the game. So let's say we have 3 player characters. The physical knot would be 3, including one sent overboard, for example. If there are 4 players plus the guide, that would be a complexity of 4. Okay, cool. Yeah. Mark 1 letter. Okay, and then you would mark 1 letter of seaworthiness every round. That's really interesting. Cool. I think a lot of this, I think everything is related to each other in a way. I think everything's inspired by something, I think. Randall. Okay. These are cool. Sorry, I was reading. Then it has a section on how to build your ship. So coming up with a name. Each player chooses one thing that is true about the ship. Together choose your figurehead. That's cool. The Hellwhale's heart. The only bait suitable for a dreaded monster of the deep you seek. Once enough souls are fed through its arteries, the heart will pulse, and the Hellwhale will hear it, no matter the distance. A horrible and highly coveted treasure, it is kept locked away in the captain's quarters until it is used. Tasting the rotting muscles of the blackened heart does nothing to break the curse upon you. Although the starving and miserable crew has tried to make a meal of it, none can stomach its flavor. Decide together how long of a journey you'll play through. Collect 15 to 20 souls for a single session, 30 to 50 souls for a small mini campaign, or 100 souls for longer campaigns. That's really good. I'd love to see that bolded, so if you're flipping through, you can see immediately how to set the pace for the game, that it's applicable for a one shot or a few shot, what it sounds like, or a really long campaign. Sounds really cool. I think it could probably easily do everything. It probably really shines in a few shot. That's how belonging outside belonging games usually feel for me, a few shot situation. Hello, Rick Stevens PI, how are you doing? 'Twas a hideous deal I struck, a devil's bargain that brought me that infernal organ and this damned vessel. The grisly devil that I'd met upon the isle was true to the end, and delivered unto me a fine ship and the accursed heart. It sits now away from me in my quarters, chained across its dreadful length. Its arteries and ventricles suckle and pucker greedily for the souls of men to be fed into its horrid chambers, like a gruesome tithe box. I pray each day that the Lord will cast a glance of mercy at this wretched sinner, and the deeds I'd done for it can someday be forgiven. Cool. Once you decide the length, divide the number of requisite souls into thirds. Each third will allow a pulse of the heart, which may trigger blessings, curses, or other notable events. As the captain feeds the souls into the heart, describe the elaborate ritualizations that accompany the event. The thick smoke of incense, the hushed Latin chants, and a shudder of dread as the heart beats, a single spasm that echoes across the seas of hell. Somewhere the whale hears it. Yes. Great writing. So then we have the gambling section, which is where you use souls to potentially gain more souls. At midnight, the Hellwhalers gather around the board to read the fate and try to win. Okay, to simulate this gambling, have players bet their souls on a sick bow board, then roll 3 six-sided dice. If the roll reflects the outcome on a square the player has bet upon, they keep their bet and win an amount of souls equal to the square's payout value, denoted by 1 in. In is the payout value. If the dice don't reflect the square, the bet is lost. Betting is done in a single round each night. Regardless of what the players roll, the outcome is reflected in the next day's events. Consult the fractured fate table using the total of the 3 dice as an entry number on each individual's dice. For example, a roll of 2, 3, and 4 would foretell the 9 result on a simple knot, an unexpected twist, and an advanced knot. Disperse these events throughout the next day's roleplay, allowing some downtime between them to finish roleplay or repair the ship. I think that's so cool that the gambling game dictates how the session will go. I think that's really ingenious and really neat. I love procedure games. I'm full on after running campaigns that require a lot of prep, I'm just fully on board procedures. That's not to say I don't still like it. I see so much value in procedure games now. So here are some of the roll tables for how you would engage with the next day's session after you do the rolling. So if you rolled ones, you would use this table, twos, this table. Use the individual dice rolls to determine which tables you pull from, and the sum of all dice rolls for the entry number. If doubles or triples of any numbers are rolled, omit that table and substitute the corresponding individual number on the doubles or triples table. So, very cool. I think that's really cool. And what would a sailing game be without a fishing minigame? To feed their crew, every vessel must subsist on fishing at some point. Most small fish are barely worth eating, blackened scales, bony bodies, and of little nutritional import. Should the whalers decide to cast their nets and harpoon to the waves for larger prey, roll a d6 the day, consult the fishing table, and consult the stats and table for the relevant entry. As the beast is hauled aboard, give each player a chance to make a small scene or take a reasonable action, dealing 1 HP's worth of damage to the creature if the action spent a soul or used a weapon supply. Oh, and then we have like, I don't know why it does that. And then we have event tables for each fish. That's really cool. So after each player is acted, if the creature is still alive, roll a d6 and perform the action from its table result. If the character's action creates a knot, the whalers cannot harm the creature any further until the knot resolves. So here you'll see this gulper eel can create a knot by leaping into nearby water. That's cool. Oh, it knocks a whaler into water. That's cool. Return the whaler's turns and repeat until the creature is dead or has fled. Once enough weapon supply or souls have been spent on the creature to end its life, it can be processed for food supply. And then we've got fish. And then we've got characters. So the captain, he, him. Perhaps the cursed mortal is one of you, or maybe Old Scrouch himself. It isn't clear how the captain came into this ship, or how you'd fallen in his crew, but he's a frightful and wicked-tempered man, usually locked in his quarters, poring over charts and maps. Best to lay low, then he makes his rounds. So the GM plays the captain. When someone follows a direct order from the captain, they gain a soul. And then we have strong moves, normal moves, and weak moves for the captain that I think are pretty obvious, like issue direct order, step into danger head first, discipline a whaler, fight with all the ferocity and depravity of the damned, show a meager sliver of mercy or kindness, remind a whaler or something they may or may not have done. Reprimand a whaler for something they may or may not have done, shatter something with a display of frightening temper or power, inspect the ship for irregularities, change our course erratically, exclaim a loud and colorful curse, rattle the door of your quarters ominously, scribble furiously upon a map or other paper, cast an evil glare, smoke from your pipe, mumble gripes and curses. So lots of inspo there if you play this character. A lot better than flaws or ideals, I think. I really love how this really tells the story of who this character is. And I feel like the story of this character is quite well done throughout the text itself, through the rules, I mean. And then we have crew, which is so great. I love that there is a crew table with some information on how the crew works. And we've got a roll table, so we can mix and match some things to build out the crew and create some personality. So that's great. Even more. Blessings and curses. So as you may remember, this had to do with the devil's board. That was earlier. So boons and curses to potentially be provided when rolling on the devil's board whenever a significant event happens. New side character, pulsing the heart, an omen, solving a hellish knot. The GM rolls a d6. On a 1, the crew is blessed. On a 6, the crew is cursed. Curse breaking rituals can be discovered by talking with side characters. Otherwise, 1d3 days of study can reveal the method of removal. So like a boon is fish have 2 less HP in combat. Blessing fades after 3 fish are caught. Let's see. Ring of Kings. The Seal of Solomon appears across the woodwork of the ship, protecting it from harm. Blessing fades after preventing 1 damage to seaworthiness. Curses. Famine of the Seas. Fish provide 1 less food supply each. Curse of Poverty. Characters receive 1 fewer soul from resolving knots. So, very cool way to change up the game. Clues and lore. This is cool too. I love this. So this is another, like, this, I think it would count as like a spoiler section for players. Random tidbits you can use to give your players a sense of discovering more about hell or the predicaments of others. The guide should choose a storyline to dole out pieces from and deliver them in order as appropriate. If players uncover all 6 pieces of a story, consider starting another storyline. If your game length is long enough, or use the player's theories around the story to determine which epilogue feels most appropriate. And then we have the different stories. So this is I think this is a really cool way to, again, diversify the game for GMs and for players. Lore can be, especially for a one-shot, annoying to try to think up. I usually just make it up as I go, but I love this option to really pull it through and have it feel more prepared. So this is great, and there's so many options, so that's really cool. Yeah, I think that's most of the rest of the text is the lore. Oh, and then we have a section on crafting your own lore, which is also great. So over the course of sailing across the seas hell, there may come a time when you desire to tell a story separate from the 6 contained tales presented here. We welcome you to create the lore and experiences you wish to share with your crew of players. The following tips are provided to aid in making a classic Hellwhalers themed 6-step story. Consider how the player characters will come across the information that contains your lore. Do they find it sealed within clay pots, dredged from the ocean, or haunting images scorched into the deck of their ship? What does the physical shape of the story say about the situation it portrays? To maintain the mechanics of gameplay, separate your story into 6 sections of roughly similar length. An ideal section builds off the previous one, creates tension, and introduces a twist and leaves the party intrigued. The following is an example composition for 6-step storytelling. Introduce the premise, introduce any aspects of the setting or characters, introduce a plot beat, draw connections to everything introduced in steps 1 and 2, continue the plot and begin to build up to climax, introduce a twist, upset, or other climax drawn from the plot or the characters themselves. Finish the tale following step 5, climax. Cliffhangers or ambiguous endings can help reinforce a creepy and dark atmosphere. I love that. That's really cool that there's just like a single one-sheeter on how to create your own. I love that the guidance is there. Very cool. And then we have some random roll tables, some more tables. And then, the Hellwhale. What we've all been waiting for. The Hellwhale encounter. After pulsing the heart for the 3rd time, there would be no need to gamble at midnight. The whalers may still choose to do so, but regardless, their moment is at hand. The day after using the heart, the Hellwhale is spotted approaching the vessel. Harpoons at the ready, begin the final confrontation. The guide rolls a single 6-sided die for the Hellwhale and consults the table below. Then, allow each player a moment to take action or craft a small scene. After each player has done so, roll again on the relevant table. During moments they aren't dealing with problems, whalers can throw a harpoon at the whale by spending a weapon supply. If the whalers can take down the whale by hitting it with 13 harpoons before the guide has rolled 6 on each table, the whalers are freed. If not, they'll be cast overboard, killed, and their fragmented souls will litter the Stygon Sea for an eternity. Either way, once the encounter is finished, turn to the epilogue section. Sorry to pick on you, Moss, but to remind all my designers in chat, you never want to use directions when referring to text. So see, it says consult the table below, but the table's right here. I don't know why Adobe does that, but there's a table. So just use a title for my designer friends out there. Consult table 1 would be what you should have there. So anyway, it's not the end of the world. It's my pet peeve though. Yeah, good. I'm glad you busted yourself. It's one of those things where, especially as, like, say your game gets put in like a different way or gets moved around, things will shift as you're working on it. It's just smart to have in the upfront, that way you don't have to go back and change the direction. Okay, again, it's not the end of the world, it's just my pet peeve. Yeah, it's a good technical writing principle, and I have some technical writing training, so that's where it comes from. Okay, epilogues. It is the hell. If the Hellwhale destroys a ship, use the following epilogue. Well, we're already here, so I'm gonna read it. Cast to the bottom, the air plied away from your lungs. Your souls are eroded away by the merciless waves of the hellish sea, ground down to your most basic form. Perhaps in the future, some other damned sailor will dredge you from the deep and win a lucky bout with you. Between now and then, you are flotsam, littering the abyssal ocean. From the sea we crawled, and to the sea we return. If the whalers succeed in bringing down the Hellwhale, use one of the following epilogues as the guide decides appropriate. Shooting stars, new lords of hell, the long wait, pandemonium, a toast, and you made it. Yes, Moss, I think we all agree that we're all learning as we go. But yeah, I think when you're designing it, like, we're all pulling from different spaces. So what I pull from is manual writing. So I have some manual writing training, like toaster. Think of a toaster, like how to use a toaster, or a printer. That's kind of manual training I have, which is great for thinking about logistics of tabletop RPGs in getting direction and rules across and how to approach that piece. It's not great when I want to add the voice. I also have creative writing, but it's hard sometimes to mix those together. And I think you did a really good job here. So, like, you know, we all have our weaknesses. Aaron says that the epilogues are his favorite. I don't want to read all of them because I want to leave some as a surprise. Aaron is there one we should for sure look at. And also, yes, I do want to plug, Aaron does have a great video essay on Hellwhalers too, which I'll throw the links in chat and I'll put them in the YouTube description. Yes, I agree, Miralock. We all pitch in our strength and knowledge and grows a community for it. Yep. I am interested in reading You Made It, I think, and Shooting Stars. And then if Aaron chimes in with what he wants us to read, I'll do that too. Let's look at Shooting Stars. I mean, I just love the last one, You Made It. Okay, yeah, that's the one I want to do. So we'll do Shooting Stars, we'll do The Long Wait, and we'll do You Made It, I think, will be the three we take a look at. Shooting Stars. The Hellwhale slain, you begin to harvest the blackened meat of the leviathan. As you cook it in the stew pot, craft one final scene with your fellow crewmates as you prepare to taste salvation. Putting the meat to your lips, you chew through the acrid, rubbery flesh. Your cheeks flush and your eyes begin to water as you wonder what comes next. Then, a rushing sensation and a light of purest holy bliss surround you. Be not afraid. The horrifying entity speaks in a chorus of myriad tongues. You see it at the gates of shining pearl, but its form is indescribable, addressing each whaler in turn. It asks why they've come here. After they each make their plea for salvation, the entity responds by recounting their vicious deeds, culminating with the death of the whale. You have come all this way, but heaven cares not for the bargains of hell. You cannot find salvation here. You begin to fall. Your stomach churns with the weight of your drop. A descent so far, you begin to ignite. In agony, your form and eternal soul burn to ashes as you plummet into the blackest ocean at the very bottom of the cosmos. Good stuff. What was the other one I wanted? I think it was The Long Wait. Yes. I petitioned Kay, my artistic director, to put the angel's voice in Comic Sans. Wasn't approved. That would have been iconic. The Long Wait. A Hellwhale slain. You begin to harvest the blackened meat of the leviathan. As you cook it in the stew pot, craft one final scene with your fellow crewmates as you prepare to taste salvation. As visions of white blind you, you feel yourself rising up, up, up. You feel weightless, and the pain of your tortured body washes away to a pleasant numbness. You can hear waves and feel heat on your skin. When your vision clears, you find yourself laying down, alone, on a placid beach of white sand. Blank white skies coat the space above you, and you look out across the coastline of white water gently lapping at the beach. You attempt to make a sound, but no voice leaves your throat. You can hear the gentle lapping of the waves and nothing else. You can feel the pleasant heat on your skin and nothing else. You are alone. The beach stretches for miles. You have arrived in purgatory, short of the pearly gates. The beach stretches on forever. You begin to forget to blink. No one is here. You spend years, no hours, or decades. You spend minutes, perhaps, looking at the coastline of the ocean from whence you escaped once before. You could wade back in so easily and see your friends again. How long can you endure? Coralu, thanks so much for following. Welcome in. We're about at the end of Hellwhalers. But thanks for stopping by. Hellwhalers is a horror tabletop RPG. I'm distracted by my cat who just jumped in my lap. So here he is. He's a good boy. All right, let's look at one last epilogue. Yeah, Merc is only hanging out with me because Josh isn't here. Josh is at work, being a breadwinner for the moment. You made it. So as usual, you make a stew pot to eat the whale. Putting the meat to your lips, you chew the acrid, rubbery flesh. Your cheeks flush, your eyes begin to water as you wonder what comes next. Then a rushing sensation, and the light of the purest holy bliss surrounds you when you regain your vision. The next thing you see is an endless horizon of placid, shining clouds. You step through an endless mist circling your ankles, yet your feet find solid purchase with each step. The sky above you is a sunless, bright sky. Behind you is a gate you, presumably, did not walk through. Its golden arches extend further into the sky than you can see, its bars glittering and painful to stare at. You can see closer that upon its handles lays a brutal set of chains and locks, sealing it shut forever. You walk through the heavenscape. The air is light on your skin, and your wounds are a distant memory. Beyond your fellow crew, you see not a soul within these hollowed halls. You pass empty structures, monuments, and fountains, impeccably bright and clean. You come to a staircase. Do you climb it? If no, you remain in heaven, and not once do you see another soul in this abandoned place. Eternal nothingness stretches toward time immemorial. It is this paradise, you wonder. The endless sky answers nothing. In this vacant place, perhaps, at least, it is better than hell. I don't see a world where I don't say, yeah, I go up the stairs. You climb the guided stairs, crescending upwards to a space you cannot see. After years of climbing, you cross the threshold of the top of the steps, finding yourself before an immaculate door of sculpted gold and stone. It too stretches to even greater heights as you pass through the crack of its barely open frame. Its build is as thick as several galleons. Inside, you can see it. Even miles away, you can see it. The majestic throne of God. The simple form of its craft illuminates its divinity. Seeing it wells tears in your eyes through awe alone, and it is empty. The hall of God is empty. The wide swaths of space, no doubt meant for the crowds paying God homage, are empty. 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 There is nothing here but dust. That's it. My cat is in another room meowing. I don't know if you can hear him. He's going off. And then we've got some notes from the designers. And this is what the character sheet looks like. It's a great character sheet. So you put your ship, your name, your pronouns, your cause, so how you died, your description. Here's the claimed piece. So here's how your letters are filled out. Here's the wrecked piece for your ship. Yeah. And then there's the credits. So yeah, I think this is a very, very cool game. I can get it in frame. I think this is a very cool game. Like I said, it's very big. I think it's written extremely well. The team behind this did a great job. The vibes are immaculate, as the kids say. That's Hellwhalers by Moss, Bogus Cheesecake, and Kay, and several others. So, yeah, sure, of course, Moss. I'm so sorry it took me a million years to do it. But yeah, it's really great. I look forward to the rest of the stuff you create. Don't rush yourself, though. You know, pacing is important, I say, as someone who does not pace myself. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining me for that. I had a really, really great time.